Hey guys, it's Matt. Thanks to Radar Love for not just this image for Midnight Reality, but the one coming up that I'll show you in just a second. I'm going to talk over both of them in this presentation. The reason for this Midnight Reality is just a continuation of the last one about the go into the light or not go into the light. What is an NDE? The last presentation was just a rant. I had almost no notes. It was all over the place. I don't know what parts made sense, what parts needed to be cleaned up. I went back and put it in a very clean format into the final book that I'm writing. I did address it in certain parts of the book, but the last video helped me talk a lot of it out, and basically like taking notes on the last video. So this is a reading from the book. It's what I did all day yesterday, clean this up. It's much more logical and easier to understand than what was in the last video. There's also certain things that I didn't even think about in the last video, so it expands upon that. So the first segment of what I'm about to read, to see if this is for you, because it's going to get long, basically I'm going to present all the confusing aspects of what is this, go into the light or not go into the light? What should we do? Should we have a plan? What is the NDE experience? Is it a trick? Who are these archonic beings that try to trick us back into a body? Not that I travel into the astral, I admit I don't. But the point of the presentation is to show you how it gets confusing, and it is overly confusing on purpose. Because at the end, once all that fog clears, I think the solution is very simple. It's what Christians tell me, basically, what is their term? Faith without works. We do the work. It's that Rocky section of the last presentation. We're here right now in Mickey's gym. This is what this life is for, to do the work, the spiritual work. So it doesn't matter what happens at death, because we'll never know anyway. So if you want to explore all that in detail, this is going to take a long time. I hope you stick with me. It's basically similar to the last presentation, but much more organized. Here's the second image. I guess she made it. It looks like me, but almost like in a Shawshank shirt, like I'm a prisoner of some kind. Isn't it like a Andy Dufresne shirt? Gigantic rubber ducky. I like it. I guess it's supposed to be me. What the heck? Maybe Andy Dufresne and Red are my cellmates. Note before beginning. I have come across several people over the years who have told me that they travel in the astral. In addition, there are many books and videos on this topic. I don't travel into the astral. If the dream state is in some way associated with the astral plane, then I'm not aware when I'm dreaming where I am, and I'm not lucid during the experience. However, whatever traveling into the astral plane, quote unquote, is, or may be, it's not the afterlife or final destination for a spirit. It's something that's probably very close to this reality. Not having traveled astrally, though, is irrelevant to me in forming my opinion on the true afterlife, or my opinion on the potential tricks to be overcome at death. What this essentially means is, if somebody yells at me that I should not be putting forward these opinions on this matter because I have not traveled astrally, that is baseless, in my opinion. I'd probably say back to them, your knowledge or opinion or your knowledge about the true afterlife could be skewed simply because you have traveled astrally or lucidly into the astral, if you see what I mean. If one pays attention, there are 1,000 clues in reality that reveals that one needs to do the spiritual work for ourselves that I call Part 2 in the book. Much of our community considers themselves to be, quote, spiritual, not religious. This means they have a deep understanding or an inner knowing that they are immortal spirit, but they don't see the need to seek out a big religion or a religious figure to guide them to heaven, for example. Many truth researchers in our community study the testimony of those that have had near-death experiences, or NDEs, with the idea being that they've briefly died, sampled the other side, but were later resuscitated and brought, quote, back to life. Because of the thorough and detailed testimony of hundreds of people who have had these experiences, these researchers believe in, quote, archonic tricks at death and have stories about entities that will try to fool people to go into a false light or convince them to return to their body, say after a car accident or after they've been drowned, to return to the earth and go back into a body. Basically, These researchers believe that something akin to the minions here on Earth extends into the first moments or first, say, few minutes of death. And once again, these archonic beings, false guides, are there to block our true path. Now, if there's truth in all of this, then archonic beings would have succeeded in creating a reincarnation trap for people to experience hundreds or even thousands of lifetimes. This is what we've heard a million times, this Saturn moon matrix, or whatever variation of it. These researchers are convinced that all of us will need to overcome these tricks and bypass these false guides to navigate death. The debate of, quote, don't go into the light or go into the light is more famous now than tastes great versus less filling. So what's the answer? Go into the light at death or not go into the light? What exactly do we do, Matt? I'll tell you what you should do. You should trash this horribly limiting mindset where your whole life, all of existence, comes down to one or the other. See the problem? Even if there's truth in it, what to do in the face of some wondrous warm light is impossible to answer while we are still alive. This entire reality is based on the mystery of death. This whole experience doesn't work if there is no mystery to death. It's the pillar that holds up the entire reality. I don't think you should even bother searching for, quote, the answer to this question, and I'll explain why. Let's say 5 years of research on what to do in the light yields to you a satisfactory answer. In your best judgment, this is pretty good advice. What does that do for you? Are you then a winner who can then just put your feet up for the rest of your life? Is that what your entire life boils down to? Finding the answer to light or no light? If it's that simple, it renders the work in life as being completely unnecessary. If you think, quote, the works are necessary, then it can't be as simple as light or no light. You got to answer? Light or... It ain't... See, you have two choices. You can have a plan, light or no light, or you can do the work now. That's the basis of this presentation. You'll see one side has more common sense behind it than the other. I would highly recommend not bowing down to anyone offering a definitive answer to this light dilemma, because it very well could be a false choice to begin with. This is a world of deception. Anybody listening to the sounds of the words coming out of my mouth would say, this entire world, would you agree? Yeah, we agree. This is a world of deception. Is it such a stretch then to say that this light or no light debate could, be another deception? Is that really a stretch? Is that really going on a limb when the entire world is built on deception? How do you know the person who told you what to do in the light is even correct about their interpretation? Have they been dead? Really? Do you trust them because they made a really cool and slick YouTube video? Who's behind the video? Who posted the video? It could be somebody that made the video, posted it while lathering themselves up with their own feces in the bathtub. My position is simple. I believe that doing the spiritual work in life is far more important than having a plan written on, say, a piece of paper that you can pull out of your pocket, like a compass, to help you navigate the moment of death. Check with your inner knowing to see which part of this argument or which side resonates with you. Does your inner tuning fork say you will need an instruction manual to navigate death? A plan on a piece of paper? Again, if the instruction manual actually is correct and it works, then by definition, there was nothing you needed to do on Earth. There was nothing you needed to do in life. Once you get your action plan all worked out, then just put your feet up. Go to Six Flags every day. There's nothing more you have to do. You have the navigation steps, right? If you wait a second, but something inside you saying you still have to do the work. See, if the work is necessary, then it's not about a plan, is it? Also, where did you get these instructions on what to do at death? That's right. They came from experts on death who are not dead and have never been dead. What the heck? They're giving you instruction on death. They haven't been dead, or they've been in a false death called an NDE. We'll talk about that. Okay. You better memorize those death steps, because I doubt that piece of paper that you have will be allowed by the boatman. That Sharon, sorry Sharon, Karin. That Karin son of a bitch makes you clean out your pockets. You ain't going to be able to carry steps. I hope that somebody placed the coins over your eyes too. That's a necessary thing to play that boatman son of a bitch. If you're naked at death, like Casper the Friendly Ghost, there's no place to put that piece of paper and instruction map either. Oh crap, then you're going to have to, let me recall the steps. Oh no, I'm a bit foggy. I think the steps said, when this light comes, then do this. If an archon pops up from behind a rock wearing a red hood, then do this. If an archon pops up over here that looks like Michael Jackson before his skin turned white, then you just yell, beat it. Archon, beat it. Come on, sir. Does this make any sense to you? Your entire existence boils down to the notes that you lost from a BitChute video. These death instructions, this is what the Tibetan Book of the Dead does regarding the navigation of something a Buddhist calls the bardos, a 40-day dreamlike period after death that usually for most, as they say, it ends up into being reincarnated into another lifetime. So it's not like I'm talking to a tiny little group here that thinks they have to put these instructions. The Tibetan Book of the Dead, it's a major premise. I know all of Buddhism doesn't bow down to the Tibetan Book of the Dead, but the bardos, billions of people believe in a set of instructions is necessary, okay? I don't buy that, and that's the basis of this presentation. I don't know if you've read the Tibetan Book of the Dead, but let me save you the trouble if you haven't. It's horse shit. About 5 pages into the book, one can see that it's a bunch of BS. It describes what color lights to run away from. I mean, all sorts of different lights, different levels, what lights are good, what lights are bad. It's like Picard in that horrible episode. There are 4 lights. Don't ever read the Tibetan Book of the Dead. Take my advice on that. It's nonsense. The only light I ever ran toward was a flashing blue light at Kmart, hovering over a sock bin. I would ask the people who are so sure that all of life boils down to the simple choice of go into the light or not, why is the Tibetan experience different than what happens to us poor devils in the West? Our YouTube videos, our BitChute videos, stuff that we watch, it's dominated by a relatively simple choice. Approach the warm, beautiful, loving, white light, or run the fuck away from it. Why doesn't the Tibetan Book of the Dead have something similar to that as its first page? It doesn't. All these lights, all these different levels, why is their death experience different than ours? What the hell's going on? Perhaps death personified, the image of death or the Grim Reaper, death personified, actually knows what country somebody lived in during their lives and adjusts the first few moments of the afterlife accordingly to the country they died in. Maybe the Grim Reaper has an IP address locator. The hooded figure with a long sickle looks over his screen and says to his assistant, that son of a bitch right there just died in Tibet. He's Tibetan, so load up that same bardos program for his dumb ass. Why are the NDEs and ADE experiences in the West different than in Nepal? If the NDEs aren't different, depending on what country, then why is the Tibetan Book of the Dead that describes how to navigate the immediate afterlife with all these different levels and lights, why is that still so popular? Why is it still so relevant to cultures all over the world? Don't we know by now that it's just light or no light, run from it or go in? Why is it different? This could go on and on and on. This whole front section is to show you how absurdly confusing this gets. And when something gets this confusing, guess what the answer typically is? Very simple. Let's continue. Why did the pharaohs of Egypt have a completely different belief set than the two we just talked about? Why didn't those Egyptians who got crushed by camels report the same type of archonic experience that is described by the YouTube testimonies? Matt, they are. But those false spirit guides, like Janeway's father in that episode of Voyager, they say to the dead pharaoh or Tutankhamun or whatever, they say, you're going to go back into your body and build me a pyramid. What do you think? We finally realized where they came from. So Tutankhamun, King Tut, is resuscitated. The first thing he says is, build us a pyramid. An archonic being demanded it of me. Okay, look, the experiences should, if these NDE testimonies, there are similar, okay, those that study it on YouTube, there are similar elements, no doubt about it. But they're not similar all over the world, and they're not similar as you go back culture to culture. If the people in our community who scream at us to don't go into the light, if they're correct, and trust me, they've convinced hundreds of thousands of people to run from the light the moment they pass away. Okay, going against the traditions of the ages. Okay, this don't go into the light thing, of course, is becoming more and more popular. Everybody that's, of course, that researches what we do knows exactly what I'm talking about. Okay, the point is that, if these people are right, if don't go into the light, then they're catching on, right? They're beating the system. Well, if that's the case, why don't these archons simply switch the trick around? Switch it up. So these smart truthers who now understand the scam are then double scammed. Couldn't these archons make it then so the light now becomes the good portal and switch it around so now the dark is now the trap? See what I mean? Why can't they reverse it as easily as I can change the direction on my ceiling fan? So let me get this straight. Okay, do I understand this? These archons, these masters of death, who have been in control of the moments of death and the recycling trap for thousands of years or whatever, they can't change the nature of the trick based on who's entering it at death? What? The guy on the street corner can adjust his 3-card Monte game to match the acuity of his target. But ancient archons, the tricksters of death itself, are powerless to switch their game because people have watched YouTube videos and have beaten them? Really? How dumb is this getting? Does the root of the archon's problem where they can't switch the trick around? Oh, who do we got here? This is a truther that knows not to go into light. Do we have time to switch the trick? No. Maybe the root of their problem lies with the demonic after-death union workers who can't change the light trick around in time. Maybe unions in the afterlife and with the archon unions are even more difficult to work with than the Philadelphia Convention Hall union that set your shit up, or the plumbers union that worked on the Comcast building in downtown Philadelphia. What a disaster that was. Maybe the archons simply can't switch the trick at death fast enough to get ahead of these smart truthers who are now masters of death and the trick because they watch a lot of BitChute videos. Here's yet another problem with trying to devise a plan and carry it in your pocket for the moment of death. What is the, quote, go into the light or not go into the light choice at its very foundation and core? Oh no, it's another dualistic presentation. What? If this, quote, light or no light choice is true, then it's the ultimate expression of duality. But we're leaving that shit behind. Isn't the duality supposed to be the defining characteristic of this material plane? If it exists, then wouldn't the light or no light choice still maybe be part of the Earth system? Well, that's right, Matt. It's a trick. The light is a trick. It could be very close to the Earth system. Okay, fine. But this duality, this point is ignored. It clearly does, if it exists, if. And as this presentation unfolds, you'll see that empowering oneself and doing the work now will prepare you for anything. That's the point if you don't want to stick with me through all of this. Not to have a little action plan in your pocket. All right, but so it's just the ridiculous nature of it. I'm expected to believe, maybe there's a third choice. We're going to explore all that. I'm expected to believe that my entire existence hangs on the biggest duality choice of all time. Light or no light, fries or onion rings, hee-haw or the Lawrence Welk show. Aren't we told sometimes there might be another option? It's not about duality and death. Matt, that's the basis of the trick. Okay, fine. We'll talk about that. I'm just emphasizing how ridiculous that aspect of it is. I've never heard anybody talk about it. It's duality after a life of duality. It's okay, Matt, millions of people have talked about it and you don't watch those videos. Okay, fine. I just want to make sure it's stressed. It's ridiculous. Duality after a life of duality. It's like putting ketchup on ketchup. What, any fries? No fries. Pile on the ketchup, and where's your ketchup? What you want the ketchup for? To put it on a ketchup. Duality on duality. It's like wanting to get away from the cheap gambling games in your little Brooklyn neighborhood. Let's get away from these charlatans, honey. Let's go to Vegas. You fly to Vegas, and every single casino has converted their entire floor space over to the shell game and 3-card Monte. All the dealers are the same lowlifes back from your home neighborhood. Here's yet another problem with listening to testimony, getting your action plan, knowing the steps. And the problems just keep coming and coming. That's the point of me making this presentation. To those that scream, do not go into the light. Okay, fine, maybe you're right. But then what? Have you ever heard that part? Then what? Okay, you've heard anybody describe the light. It's so warm and you want to go in there and your pets are in there. Don't go in, man. Resist it. Don't do it. Then what? Isn't everything else like around a black void or what? They don't tell you much about that, do they? Well, if you know for sure not to go into the light, then go the whole way. What else do I need to know? If I don't go in, maybe there's a couch off to the left. Can just go. It's all a black void. The light I'm not supposed to go into, and there's a couch off to the left. Poppy's couch, Seinfeld, where he peed on one side. You have to sit on the other side for like 1,000 years. You just wait for your pets. Wait for Belle to come. Wait for Jesus. What do you do? And if you're gonna scream at someone and say, "Don't go in the light," then tell me what to do. Where's the next door? Do they ever do this? Not that I've ever heard. Just saying, it's just, it bugs me. Because I'm not going to sit there and tell you to go in the light or not. I don't know. Okay, I'm gonna tell you the work in this life I truly believe is more important. But if someone has the gall to say they know about death, well then go the whole way. What else do I need to know? What do I do if I turn around? What do I look for? Little magenta colored flower that leads me down a rabbit hole like Alice in Wonderland? Tell me more. Tell me more. Screw it. Why do we want to hear more anyway? What I don't really trust him about whether to go in the light or not. Why would I trust him if they gave me more details? Because remember the big problem. Not just like, am I grasping here? The big problem is the person telling you about death isn't dead. I mean, how many parodies could we create with that as our template? Person wants to tell me about death, they're not dead. You want to, thank you for coming into my office. You want to write a book the book is about the only Western gigolo, white Western gigolo who ever worked the south side of Hong Kong. How many years did you do that job? I never did that job in Hong Kong. I just want to write a book about it. Sorry, I won't spend one more minute looking for YouTube videos that tell me whether I should go into the light or not. I'm going to get out every day and do the work. That'll be the back part of this video. I don't see that a simple dual choice, light or no light, is going to be the final culmination of my entire life. Just picking the right one. Talk about a cheapened catharsis. I don't think my entire existence boils down to something so rudimentary. Again, if it's as simple as that, then I didn't need to do a damn thing in life. I didn't need to do a damn bit of work. Spiritual work? Bleh, hooey. Just got to make the right decision when the damn light comes. What a joke. Let me go away from the book for a second. I know many people are screaming out, this one factor has to be addressed. And guys, I'm not just reading the book. You can tell when I kind of stray, and if I wrote like the way I'm talking here, for the most part, it would be insane, although I'm mostly following the book here. Say, well, Matt, okay, the light's coming. It's going to be, okay, how do you know? Okay, how do you know? There's two parts to this. Number one is we don't know. Because you know what? You've never talked to anybody that's been dead, right? Never. No. Okay, nobody's been dead. An NDE. Okay, that's something related to the astral or something very close to this existence. It could be, of course, a trick. Whatever happens in the afterlife, I don't care what a person comes back. And I'll show you even more issues, more problems with the NDE. So it's not a given that it's just has to be this light or no light. Don't put that in your mind, because we likely manifest, we get what we expect to get. It's not a given. What I'm saying is, and the point of this, if you want to end this presentation now, or you got to go off to clear a field or something, by doing the work here and getting yourself into a spiritual state, a tremendously powerful aura, it doesn't matter what happens at the moments of death. We will be ready for it. We will know how to navigate it. It doesn't matter if these archons are right or there's a light, or we will know. We are doing the work. The works are important. The works are 99%, not the plan. I don't care if there's a light or not. I have full confidence I will know what to do, or I'll know what questions to ask, or I'll know how to wait it out. It doesn't matter. The work is not the plan. The work is the spiritual work. So you become this even more powerful, kick-ass spiritual being. It's not a given there's going to be a light anyway. No, you've never talked to nobody that's ever been dead has ever given a testimony. I don't care what people that have been resuscitated say or whatever. I don't care what's in the Tibetan Book of the Dead. I don't buy any of it. Overall, the point of this, I don't care what happens, because I will be able to move through it, navigate it, whatever. That's the point of doing the work now. I'm thinking of Luke in, Empire Strikes Back, the scene with Yoda. Matt, you put everything in regards to a movie. Well, that's my art, okay? And I still believe there's spiritual messages that come through art. That's why they're trying to destroy all of Star Wars, to get rid of the first three. I'm not looking too much at recent movies for spiritual messages from like Thanos or something like that, but there is in the original Star Wars. That's why it's being destroyed along with a lot of other franchises. Just because it's movies doesn't mean there can't be a spiritual. Anyway, the point is, there's no doubt about it. When Luke is training with Yoda, and what does Luke say? Something like, how will I know the good side of the Force from the bad? And Yoda says, I'll try to do my best. You will know. That was terrible, but you will know. Well, how? because remember Little Dakota Fanning and with Denzel Washington in Man on Fire, trained or untrained? Luke, Jedi, trained or untrained? How will I know one side from the other? You will know. You'll know. How will I know what to do with the light, or if the archonic being that looks like Michael Jackson pops up? You will know. You will know because you've done the work now. Why do you think they work so hard now to take you off that true path? Why is the entire world a deception or a trick to take you off what you should be doing or to get you interested in their busyness and all that distracts? And they're doing it because that obviously shows you that the right work here and the right path pays dividends. So if the right work here pays dividends, you're going to just be victim to a light trap? I don't think so, Joel. Okay, let's continue. Here's yet another problem. If, quote, going into the light was so bad for us to do and facilitated endless recycling on our spiritual broke asses, then why don't the creeps here push the whole light thing more aggressively, like in school or all over the place? Why, if it's so horrible and we're just doomed, and why isn't it the most dominant part of society itself, pushed and brainwashed in all these different areas? It's not. Okay, Matt, well, maybe the light is so perfect. Oh, we'll get to that. That's another problem, too. It's so perfect, their light trap, Matt, that they don't have to push it. Okay, we'll get to that. That's another problem. Right? They put the entire world in a face covering in about 8 weeks, at least the entire West. They pushed in certain lifestyle choices. I'll just use the Sesame Street sponsored by the word tea. Okay, they pushed that from obscurity to complete normalcy amongst your family and friends in about 10 years. No real world could do that. If the recycling and going into the light was so important for their whole system to work, why don't we hear more about that in our day-to-day lives? Aren't the evil archonic spirit guides at death, excuse me, in some way, aren't they related to the Not Milk? Aren't they on the same team as what we call the minions of the creeps here? Well, yes, they'd have to be, of course. The minions and the creeps here, Melvin P., are they constantly talking about light or the light? No. Well, why is that if it's so important? Again, I'll get to if it's such a perfect trap or trick, I'll get to that. Okay, but all I can think of right now, like in terms of movie references, that's all. I don't know poetry references. The little psychic, whatever, yelling at Carol Ann's mother in Poltergeist. All are welcome. All power. That little psychic telling who does Carol Ann listen to more? The mother, the father. Tell her to go in the light. No, don't go in the light. Lead the souls closer to the light, then move away from the light. Okay, that's a big part of the Poltergeist presentation. But other than that, I don't. Was the going into the light a big part of Ghost with Demi Moore, the overrated from birth Demi Moore and Patrick Swayze? And how obnoxious was Whoopi again, that Oda Mae or whatever what is. Oh, God. But maybe the light was a big part of Ghost. I'll have to go rent it from Blockbuster and go check it out. I'm just saying, if it was so important, why isn't it a bigger part of this reality from a minions or creeps perspective? Right, this part I've mentioned a few times going off the book reading here, but it's so important. I'll just do it real quickly. It says here, here's another problem. If the light trap is so good and effective, why do the creeps and the minions work so hard on us right now while we're alive? Okay, just talked about it, but it's pretty much the most important realization of all time. If that light trap was so effective, why don't they just put their feet up? They don't have to do anything. We're just doomed to be drawn to this beautifully warm light. Because they work so hard. Have you ever heard me say this over the years? Because they work so hard on us now tells me that they don't have us 100% at death. At the minimum, it assures us that if we can do what we're supposed to do and not do what they say to do, that we increase our spiritual wonder twin powers activate. So none of these tricks are ever going to work on us. As above, so below. The trick doesn't work here. We see through it, right? We're one of the few that see through it. So why do you think the trick's going to work on you there? So damn simple. Here's another potential problem with the way a lot of people approach the light, no light, or NDE thing. We've talked recently, and when I floated it out, I don't know, 4 years ago or 5 years ago, I said people must be on some sort of download technology we don't understand, a dark spell. I mean, using the language of English, subliminals, all the technology. People, I still can't explain the mechanism, but it's been confirmed. When I threw it out, I was like, I don't know, there's no other explanation. It's pretty much confirmed that the people around us are on some sort of download, just the way Tony, my friend, acted yesterday. Okay, we know this. Now you might prefer they're on a certain radio station, not Nilk 101.5 or whatever, or it might be they're on a certain frequency or resonance. It's just how you want to call it from a semantic, if that's even a word, perspective. Is it the frequency they're on? Is it the download, or on the radio station? Almost everybody listening to me now, we believe that that's correct. But that couldn't possibly be happening on somebody that experiences an NDE. No. The creator of this reality system, it's just beyond their capability, right? The creator of this whole reality, that wouldn't be a powerful entity at all. No, that would be nothing. They wouldn't have the ability to, as somebody's about to die, but they could be resuscitated, or they were crushed by their tractor and somebody's doing CPR on them, whatever it is. Whoever created this reality it would be beyond their capability to have a program run of sorts that's okay, the NDE experience, the Archon, the evil Archon, this will pop out of the bushes. Something that looks like Michael Jackson. Something over here looks like the creature from the Black Lagoon will try to convince you to go back into a body. No, see, I think this reality is so immensely amazing, beyond anything we'll be able to fathom while we're alive in this body, that they could run a download or a program in terms of what it ultimately would be recognized as the NDE. So we believe our cousins and our friends are running downloads, but that couldn't happen at an NDE level. That just has to be real, that testimony. No, it could be real, but why would I put any stock into it after I analyze how this not nilk works for 15 years? All right, Matt, there's a lot here. Let's just back up for a second. What are you going to do? Simple, as usual. What I will do aligns with my inner knowing and what I believe takes precedence over advice I get from BitChute. To me, life itself, the entire life, is preparation for death, is preparation for what's next. You're not going to call it a school or a test. No, I'm not going to call it a school or a test. That would be triggering some people. I would never do that. Do we learn something here? Yeah, most of us would say yes. So it doesn't really matter what you call it, triggered or not. Okay. To me, it's about doing the work here. So it doesn't matter all these BitChute videos. It doesn't matter if parts are true or most of it's true. Be able to overcome all of it. It's not about finding a secret set of steps or a treasure map. Mom! I found the treasure map, how to navigate death on a BitChute video. It's not about that, to get out of an escape room. I just watched A Beautiful Mind again the other day. He screams off the balcony, lesser mortals! The theories of classes will dull your senses. It's the theories. Going to class and reading their books is the theories of lesser mortals. So I'm going to take the advice from a BitChute video of just, okay, maybe not lesser mortals, but just a person in a body like me. Well, I don't know. How do they know? Oh, they traveled astrally, whatever. Okay, no. I know if I do the work now and do the Rocky training, I'm going to be spiritually like a spiritual Marcellus Wallace, kick-ass mother mo-effer, but a good guy. But they're not going to be able to mess with me. I don't need to prepare for anything if I do the work now, do the training. It's not about, but Matt, isn't it about a script? Take 5, at the moment of death, take 5 steps forward, then turn left, take egg out of pocket, throw egg into light. If it scrambles, it's the just light. I don't know why I wrote that, but maybe I'll take that out of the book. But one final time, the person who gave you the death steps and what to do at death is not dead. It's a small factor. I will take advantage of where I am right now and use all the tools around me, all the tools this life gives me, and it's designed to give me. So I don't have to worry about action plans and writing down what dumb choice to make or what to do here or there. The biggest mistake most of these researchers make is they are, on a sliding scale, they're much too far down the one side that says, we were tricked to come in here. We're trapped. We're doomed. We're screwed. No, if we were so trapped and doomed, the reality wouldn't have, 1 million positive breadcrumbs that show us the true nature of who we are? the Humpty Dumptys, the stuffed Lenins, somebody that is so set in their ways that on that side of the sliding scale that we're so doomed and trapped, well, they would say that what I'm seeing over here, these spiritual messages in movies or in songs or in poetry or in Humpty Dumpty and stuffed Lenins, they would say I'm delusional. Well, think what you want. You're delusional, whoever would say that to me. I know, I'm sure almost all of you listening to the words coming out of my mouth, all of you see what I see in terms of these messages, even things from nature, even the synchronicities. We're surrounded by incredible messages that tell us about our true nature. So if we get in touch with that and we take that path, the path less chosen, or the Mandela-affected Frost poem, the path not taken, or whatever it's called now, if we do that, I don't care what pops up at death. It could be Beetlejuice pops up at death. I don't care what it is. Nothing will be able to touch us. If we couldn't become this spiritually powerful Marcellus Wallace, but on the good side, then why is it all these minions, why are they working so hard now to block us? It's second grade shit. So what I will do is this. I'm done pondering lights at death. Okay, I just don't care. If I focus on that for 2 decades, I'll probably manifest something like that. I'm done with it. I'll just know I'm ready to get into the ring with Apollo Creed, spiritually. Right? What I'll do is prepare myself now, use every moment that I can, every day, to become a little bit better, spiritual that is. I'll do the work here and now, so it doesn't matter if any part of what we're discussing is true or not. If anybody could ever know these things for sure, then that would be one thing. But we'll never know for sure. See, that's a small problem. We talk about this like this is coming, we don't know. If we could know for sure that these tricks are real, the light thing is real, even if we knew somebody really came back from the dead, I still think the solution would be the same. Prepare yourself spiritually using the tools the life gives you. A small factor is we don't even know if any of this is sure. So people will dwell on this shit decade after decade when we don't have any idea if any of this is even real? What's the point? Are you kidding me? Talk about wasting the opportunity of the things right in front of you. There's a spiritual way to gain something right in front of you right now, or right out the window, or right around the corner. It's not about doing push-ups or like the real Rocky training. We'll talk, there's certain parts of this book that talk about the part 2. And you don't need me to tell you. I'll talk a little bit about that here. But your inner knowing, your inner guide tells you the spiritual work you have to do here. You don't have to need no video or no book from me or from anybody else. If there's false guides and archonic beings who pop up, and they offer you let's say they offer me a showcase showdown, like The Price is Right. They offer me a showcase showdown, light or no light. Well, I don't think the bidding will matter to a spiritual kick-ass being that has done a lifetime of work, making himself or herself more powerful, or powerful enough to where they need to be. Bid on your showcase. You got answer for showcase? No, I'm not going to bid. I'm not going to, homie, don't play this. I'm not going to bid on your showcase. Prepare by doing the work in this life, not looking at some video for steps. The entire life can be a spiritual training. I feel that it's true that I chose to come here. I think the most ridiculous thing of all time is, as a spiritual, powerful being, we were tricked in here. Well, then you get into this endless list of questions that the people that say we were tricked in here never address. So let's just say that's true. I don't mean to, this isn't even in the book, and I don't mean to stray. But so I had no friends on the outside. There's nothing called higher self. There's nothing called God. They could just say, Matt disappeared. And when he woke up in the morning, your brother's car was gone. There's nobody on the outside or any other entity or anything you would call God that could then help us get out. It's just the Melvin P's are just in control here. That's ridiculous. No one was tricked in here and then trapped. We didn't have any sort of contact on the outside. It's just these archons and the Melvin P's of the world are so powerful that God is powerless to. It's obvious we chose to come here. Okay, there's no need to stray anymore. As usual, the fear videos say we were tricked, and then by default now we're trapped. Really? then what are all these spiritual messages and embedded in all these different forms of art and synchronicities and everything that tells us about who we really are if we can see the embedded? What's all this for? Thousands and thousands of things. They'd say, there's nothing to see here. You're delusional. There's pay no attention to the man. Pay no attention to the man behind the curtain. Pay no attention to all the spiritual messages you guys get. It's all delusional. You were tricked and trapped. Would a place where you're tricked and trapped have millions upon millions of spiritual messages that you could use to understand yourself? I don't think. This is so stupid. I'm not even going to talk about it anymore. The people that watch the hundreds of hours of videos about the light, no light, and archonic tricks and all this stuff, they're crying out to me in the night. I can hear them saying, Matt, though, come on, though. Isn't it just a good thing to be prepared? It's not just about you, D. I've heard this many, many times, okay? It's not just directed at you. I've been doing this for 15 years. My answer is, if you ask me, isn't it a good thing to be prepared? My answer is no. No, not in the way most people are going about it. Absolutely not. The way most people, or at least the people I'm talking about, are going about it, it's 100% bad. It's not even preparation, because that word has a good connotation. You're scaring the shit out of yourself doing this sort of preparation. It's not the right word then. It's not preparation. You're piling on fear by doing this sort of research on BitChute or whatever, listen to this endless testimony, piling on fear of nasty archonic beings and demonic tricks at death, piling on fear onto yourself faster than my grandmother could shovel mashed potatoes onto my plate. Wasn't even half done. I was full. Like, take more mashed potatoes. Take your lake of gravy. I don't want a lake of gravy. More, pile on fear. More BitChute. More Odyssey. Piling on fear. It's not preparation. You're screwing yourself. As a generator being, watching these scary videos over and over and over and over and over may be assisting the actual metaphysical processes, if that's a word, or manifestation of these tricks. The archonic beings via Loosh might be drawing from your imagination or spiritual energy that it's true. I'm not just making this up. You've heard this shit before. I'm not no expert on this, but where attention goes, archonic being energy flows. Okay? Stop it with these stupid videos. Be confident in yourself that if the internet just went down and you just went out and live in a field, live on a beach like Survivor, you could do the spiritual work. How could I do the spiritual work on a beach, Matt, with no Manly P. Hall videos? How could I do the spiritual work on a beach, Matt, without all these books, Tibetan Book of the Dead, Egyptian Book of the Dead, all these, don't I need the whole works of Madame Blavatsky to learn something? No, throw it all out. Throw it all out. You could learn everything you need to spiritually on a damn beach. And forget that damn beach ball Wilson. Pop that damn thing. Here's another problem. Another problem that isn't addressed properly, all these different groups. All right, now, most of the people that make the NDE videos and archonic beings popping up, okay, they generally talk about them as tricks. Okay, good. I'm glad they do. You focus on that too much, you manifest on yourself. We've been over that. However, the people, there's thousands that watch NDE videos that aren't in our truth community. They don't see Not and Ilk. They believe it's real. But this is, to me, ridiculous. These NDE experiences, I don't see how they can be real for one very important reason. It means the creator of the entire reality made a careless mistake. If you believe the NDE experience is real, then I don't know if there's any other conclusion except the creator of all reality of God made a careless mistake. He was just sloppy. Okay, yeah, let's play this out. I'd ask the people giving their NDE testimony or that are believing every bit of the NDE testimony, do you think, just here's a question, sir. Yes, you in the back. Do you believe the creator of this reality knew what they were doing when they constructed it? Do you believe this is a genius mind or a genius godlike thing that could make all of reality? Well, of course, yeah. This reality is pretty impressive on the whole, isn't it? Or do you think it's more like something simple like the Dumbo ride? It's very impressive. Well, of course it is. There are impossible paradoxes at every level. The very small, or what's called the quantum, still can't be figured out by scientists. You can't just keep looking for a smaller and smaller particle because at some point a particle then needs to, by definition, be made up only of itself, which is impossible. There's paradoxes at both ends. The immensity of the universe is beyond comprehension. And even if you're not a fan, don't crawl out. This isn't my first rodeo. If you're not a fan of the Carl Sagan model, it's even more amazing what this reality has done. because the reality has found a way to fool all of science and all of science technology into believing something about the vastness of space that doesn't even exist. If it's a trick, and it likely is, it's more impressive. Okay, so of course those giving NDE testimony would agree with me if I asked them this opening question. Matt, of course, I had my NDE and I agree with you. The construction of the earth reality is beyond anything we can fathom while alive in the body. Okay, fine. Then if NDEs are real, then the creator of all this made a foolish mistake. What? What do you mean? It has somehow allowed those in a car accident or someone that had just drowned is resuscitated on the beach or whatever, it's allowed those to see the afterlife in the form of an NDE or an AD and then come back to share the information that should be hidden. Question for you. So the infinite mind who designed this universe never foresaw this loophole? He just messed up. Does that make any sense? When the entire reality is held up, the most important thing holding up the entire reality or the belief in a lifetime is the mystery of death. The mystery of death is an essential component in how all of reality does business. But the creator of it, it's a loophole. If you get in a car wreck and you're that close to death, there's a good chance you're going to see the real afterlife. What bull crap. Does that make any sense to you? No, I don't think whoever created this makes mistakes like that. That's just me. That's going out on a limb. I know. Okay, let's just say that, let's just go with this, that I'm wrong and the creator of the reality did make a mistake. And oh boy, we really didn't want people to see, but okay, fine, let's just assume that and play how dumb this is out. Then if he had that loophole, then he's a dummy. Whoever made this reality, let's just go with it. I'm saying the opposite, that the creator wouldn't have made this mistake. But if it did, and when the entire reality is based upon the mystery of death, and they allow people to see the real death, then he's a dummy. I'm not saying that. It's the people that believe this would say that. But if that's the case, why didn't he go back and fix it? See the problem here? The first time somebody had an NDE, 5,000 BC or 10,000 BC, they're crushed by a camel, but then resuscitated. The person did CPR by accident, just pounding on their chest and resuscitated. They said, I saw the afterlife. Get this camel off of me. Okay, why didn't the creator or God of this reality see that, wow, I just detected that there's a glitch here, a loophole. Why didn't he fix it? Didn't have the power to fix it? Why didn't the lights go on in his control room? He had no safeguards or something coming over his loudspeaker as the creator of all reality, loudspeaker, and the lights, what is it? He says to his assistant, what is it? That son of a bitch down there in Mesopotamia, 5,000 BC. That son of a bitch can see through the veil. He can what? He can see through the veil. He was crushed by a camel, but then he lived to tell about it. Now he's giving away all my shit. You see how stupid this is getting? Or if it gets confusing, what we do is we back up to the very basics. What do we know for sure about life? We know there's a creep class here that's allowed to play their trick. You think Melvin P. is the world created the entire reality system? No, there are little role players here. Like if you just have a maze with cheese in the middle and you throw a rat into here and you say, try to get the cheese, it's just a role player, obviously. He probably didn't even understand his own DOS prompt. You think Melvin P. was some creature like that was responsible for the creation of all this? No, but we know for a fact the role players are allowed to play their trick here. That's how the reality was designed. That's why it's so common sense to say they're role players here. If that's the case, then you would think that something that if it's a false moment of death, and it is a false death because they didn't really die, they come back to life. So who's going to say that's true death? Did they die? No. But you're going to call it a true death? Yes. No, they're alive now. So how is it a true death? It could simply be an extension of the trick. This is first grade stuff. As above, so below. Below, I guess this is the below. Are creeps like Melvin P. and Bezos allowed to play a trick? Yeah, they do it. They do 1,000 million times every day. Then maybe as above. That as above doesn't mean the final afterlife. Maybe this little netherworld, this little green room off to the side at death, maybe there are tricks. So what? Who cares? Prepare yourself spiritually now and do the work. You think it'll matter? The basis of this presentation is it won't matter. Matt, you're delusional. I'm going to keep studying the BitChute videos. I'm going to have my plan and you're not. Have fun. I'm going to do the work and you're not. An NDE may be like a room off to the side or some place in the astral that somebody just has a glimpse of, similar to a dream state. If you're dying or about to die or crushed by a camel, it's between this world and the real afterlife. Certainly isn't the real afterlife. Okay, there is a trick potentially so people return to their body. Yet this brings forth more problems. Matt, they play a trick. These archons pop up so you go back into the body. That brings more problems and unanswered questions. Is anybody surprised? If that's the case, why they need to play that particular trick, these archonic beings, if the white light trap is so good? Doesn't make any sense. If the white light trap is so good and it gets 99 point whatever percent to go into the warm light and it just spits you right back through the moon and back out Saturn's ass and it's so effective, then why are the archons popping up during NDEs saying go back into the body? Why don't they just let you die normally? They see the way a lot of people discuss the NDEs. It's the archonic being and the discussion with the archonic being that lets the person decide to go back. It has nothing to do with the doctor resuscitating them or whatever. The clear, put the paddles on. Nothing to do with that. The person decides to go back into the body, and the archonic being very much wants the person to go return to the body. Again, I put it to you, Greg Marmalard, if not Greg B, my buddy, Greg Marmalard of the Omega House, if the white light trap is so perfect, why do the archonic beings at the NDE or the AD just let them die? But go and get recycled back anyway? Don't make no sense, does it? Or am I missing something here? Please, somebody enlighten me if I'm missing something. They're just going to be recycled back anyway. Why is it so important to get back into a resuscitated body? Okay, I'm more inclined to believe that an ND, of course, is not in any way real death at all. I don't think whatever made this universe, as I said, would make that kind of mistake. Okay, it could be running a script of some kind, a download, whatever. Maybe the download is just another way to deceive. This entire reality, I remind you, is based on holding strong the mystery around death. Everything we do here looms around the concept of death remaining a mystery. So if whoever made that the pillar of the entire, just a way of putting things, no, don't read into everything that people that try to examine my sweatshirt, just a way of putting something. You know, I might actually use 33, the number, at some point in my life again, too. If the guy that does the deli meat says 33 cents change at the deli counter, I'm not going to run away. Okay, we don't do that anymore. If the entire reality is based on the mystery of death, then I don't think that whoever created this is going to give it away via NDE experiences. Bull crap. The NDE, whatever happens, it's either part of this reality or it's very, very, very close to this reality. And since this reality is one person's not dead, right? How am I going out on a limb saying it's close to the reality when the person actually became alive again and didn't die? Since this reality is one massive deception, then you see why the wise man or wise woman has to assume first and foremost amongst any other choice that the NDE experience being close to our reality is also a deception. Talk about as above, so below. The whole world we live in daily, you and me. Go to CNN.com if you don't believe me. It's all a trick, but then, okay, something very close or inside. What do they say? Maybe there's another truth drop. They said, didn't NASA tell us the moon is inside the Earth's atmosphere? A way of telling us the NDE experience is inside the Earth's trick. And I'm not that crazy, guys. It just came to me. And okay, Matt, don't let this completely break down. You were doing okay. The images of the NDE are either false, in my opinion, or either, if you don't agree with that, the lucky people that had the NDE just saw through the veil and the creator made a big mistake and doesn't know how to fix his mistake. Okay, we've been over that. Don't need to talk about that anymore. But you can see how dumb it is again. Most of us believe that spiritual messages are embedded in all forms of art. Okay, if you've been, not just this channel, many other channels, if you give to a certain level of truth research, you start seeing these things related to the synchronicities, etc. To me, the 5-minute Rocky training scene that's set to music is like a metaphor for doing the spiritual work in life. Okay, I talked about this in the last video, but this is me writing it out in this brief section for the book. When Rocky was selected to fight Apollo, how did he prepare? Did he sit around with Adrian on Paulie's couch, eating tasty cakes, formulating a plan of steps on paper? So if Apollo throws a jab, my piece of paper here tells me to step left and throw a right. Is that how Rocky prepares for his fight, with a set of instructions? No. Rocky had to train. Cue the awesome music. Da 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 da. He had to train. You have to train. But I'm not talking about physical training, spiritual training. It's the same thing. Rocky needed to become a badass wrecking ball and be convinced of it. That's the conviction is just as important as the actual training. He already had the will and the heart from all the crap he'd been through. You could see the tough life he lived in the South Philadelphia neighborhood. Remember, he took the little girl home and he says, "Hey, Rocky, screw you, creepo." He'd been through a lot, so he already had the will and the heart. He just, that last bit that Mickey helped him with the training, which equates to our spiritual training once we wake up, once the fog clears. That's a key for us. That's different from my friend Tony or your cousins. In the movie, the training was only a 5-minute segment. In life, you need to spiritually train from the moment you wake up to our predicament until the moment of death. Every single day, you can do at least a little bit of something. To a degree, your and our spiritual training started at birth. To a degree. Okay, the cool training music started at birth and it'll play until we're dead. But when we wake up, it's a totally different experience regarding the training that we take forth for the rest of our lives. Okay, we were kept in a fog, as you know. We all know this. We're kept in a fog by creeps for our entire 20, 30, 40 years until we, quote, wake up. Okay, even once we start seeing what the 7-Eleven job application is and start seeing things, it still has its graduated animal farms to keep us asleep as to what we really should be doing. Okay, but we generally are in the training our entire lives, but the creeps are working overtime to keep us distracted. All that distracts and fog. And this is important, and this is what you should do. Go to school, go 200,000 into debt, get the big car, the big house, all this. There's still some learning that's going on, but the creeps are so successfully fogging. Then once we really wake up, and you get into the bog, into the truth community, then you have to get out of the bog to see how even all that conspiracy research is part of the trick. It's dangerous for the not-milk system to expose so much that will be, quote, successfully uncovered. It's only successfully uncovered if you can someday leave behind all the conspiracy research and step out of the bog. If you're still doing all the research, then you're in the bog, and the not-milk is very satisfied with that. But once there's so many different parts. See the trick, do the research, but then step out of the bog. That's when you really cue the music on Rocky. That's when we can do the spiritual training that is completely not milk uninterrupted. It's just like the segment in the movie, but doing it spiritually. You don't need the great works of Madame Blavatsky. You could do it literally stranded on an island if you had enough food and water on a beach. Don't need anything but yourself to do it. So you may disagree, but my summary, once again, is very simple. My summary, what I'm going to do, you can do what you want, is screw trying to build a strategy about lights and what to do at death. Okay, that's been said a few thousand times. Become a spiritual badass so it won't matter whether we're stuck in the Bardos or on Barbados. Match, comment, should I keep that in the book? There's no guidebook on how to train spiritually. Some general tips and tidbits people like me will give you. You have to do it yourself, your inner knowing, your inner guide. I can give you some tips about what I'll do. You have to get in touch with what you need to do. There's some basics here I've written down. It starts with a lot of things we've discussed over many years. Drop attachments. I believe there are things called Jacob Marley chains, but that's all about seeing through the trick. Drop attachments, like detach from your straw man. I don't mean you have to go off and do all that legal maneuvering. Some people do that. Great. If they want to go do, I don't see there's any need spiritually to do that. That's more about, living your life a certain way for the time we have left here. Going and sending paperwork into Washington, D.C., or your Harrisburg would be the state capital of Pennsylvania, and legal positioning. To me, that's pointless, but I understand why the people that do it. I'm here to work for my spiritual self. I don't care one bit about better navigating this system or avoiding parking tickets. I don't give a shit about any of that. For the most part, I just want to be left alone. So I'm talking, when I say detach from your straw man, I'm not saying start legal proceedings and all that crap. I'm saying just make an affirmation over your when you see the name in all caps, that it's not you. And rename yourself, Nuwand or something else. Use affirmations everywhere you can, wherever you think the not milk is trying to take your energy. Know that a system that's designed to take your energy, the whole system is, it tells you you're the most powerful thing here in this entire place. That's part of the confidence. Don't believe in its systems. Drop fear whenever you can, every day. There's a lot of things like, it really bothers me. This really bothers me. That stems from fear. A true fearless being, little things wouldn't bother you here and there. I still have a lot of work to do there. Drop baggage every day. You know what to do now. You don't need this book. You don't need anybody telling you. We sense what to do. And it's not complicated. It's always going to be extremely basic. But this presentation is about light or no light, the moments of death, tricks, etc. So let's bring that back in. So I'll ask you, and pause this if you have to. Don't just, it's important to really think about this if you can for a minute. Pause the video if you have to. I'll pause for 10 seconds. What is the most important? I'll be quiet for 10 seconds. So after all of that, what is the most important component to take into the moment of death? What is the most important thing or component? I don't know. I'm not even putting it the right way. You could pick one thing that encompasses everything. What would it be? Do, 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 do. 5 more seconds. That cat sitting on the, this isn't the most important thing, but in Dr. Sleep, the cat that jumps up on the bed that knows when someone's about to die. Incredibly great scene. If that cat jumped on your bed and you're one of these older people in that home there in Dr. Sleep, and when you go to sleep, you're not going to, what's the most important thing? Did anybody in that pause time during the Jeopardy music, did anybody say an instruction book on what to do in the light? I hope, I was going to say, I hope not after this presentation, but hey, do whatever you want. To me, this is all my opinion, of course. The most important thing to take with you or to carry through the moment of death is the opposite of an instruction book. It's simply a matter of confidence. Simply confidence that you've done the work. That just as did Rocky, when he the idea of stepping in with Apollo Creed, that, okay, he might lose the fight, but he knows, at least in the Rocky movies, you can sense that he doesn't say, boy, I wish I would have hit this bag more, or boy, no regrets saying, I wish I would have done this to make myself a more spiritually powerful being. That confidence, to me, is everything. It creates a resonance. It goes back to that Kabbalion stuff. Vibration, frequency, aura. You can't fake it to make it at the moment of death. Fake it to make it, like trying to become a gangster or something. That doesn't work. The confidence, it's not a false confidence. It comes from doing all the work. So if somebody said doing all the work is the most important, well, yeah, but what does that translate into? It doesn't translate to a special little Luciferianese patch on your arm or tattoo that gets you through death. All of the work transfers into confidence, which is the best word in English to describe what you've spiritually become via the aura, the vibration, the resonance, and the frequency. And whatever that stuffed Lenin, Nikola Tesla, all of the secret to the universe is frequency, energy, vibration. So when we hear that line, that stuffed Lenin or Humpty Dumpty from Nikola Tesla, he must be talking about understanding this universe and all this. Maybe he's talking about understanding ourselves. It's never, the truth is never presented to us directly through creep systems or by creep history. So doing all the work breeds confidence and a spiritual being that wields this aura that's the equivalent of a spiritual wrecking ball. Once again, here we go again. The same reality rules play out over and over again. The rule of opposites. Here we go again. The world is centered around what? Demoralization, learned helplessness. Why do creeps work us over so hard and get up in our business all day long to demoralize us and to bring on this learned helplessness if it's not quite simply our job to overcome it? And then because they're working so hard, if we overcome it, then we get something for overcoming it that we take into the moment of death. I mean, it's beyond simple. Or you could think that you just need a strategy about the light. Okay, I've said that enough. But give me a break. We were talking about the Kybalion in the last video, and if somebody said, that's demonic, but didn't provide a second sentence. Thank you. Thanks a lot. Yeah. I don't care where it comes from. I'm not bowing down to the Kybalion. When it says something that radiates with me or has a resonance where I know it's right, like statement 1, all is mind, and I know that's correct, then I didn't come up with it 2,000 years ago or 4,000 years ago. If the Kybalion did, I'll reference it. Somebody commented, that's demonic. Well, if you're going to say it's demonic and it's completely useless, why not provide a second sentence to help us out a bit? I don't care where it came from or whatever. If it resonates, like I said, I'd go see Satan in the Park. Isn't that a play or a movie or something? Satan in the Park? And it's Satan, man. It's not Philly. Satan. I'd go see him talk or whatever it is. It would be interesting to me. It doesn't mean I'm going to be taken by it or so the same with the Kybalion. We take out what resonates or what works for us and we leave the rest behind. I don't care what it is or where it came from. But it relates to what we're talking about here. Principle 1, all is mind, the moment of death. So if the Kybalion says all is mind. Doesn't say just this life here and what's in front of you is mind. It doesn't say your egg sandwich is mind. It says all is mind. So then why wouldn't the whatever the NDE experiences be mind? Why, if there is a trick at death, why wouldn't that be mind? It is. Therefore, it's very dangerous having our equipment and your equipment and nuclear vessels in such close proximity. That's how wars have started, Mr. Ambassador. It's very dangerous to dwell on tricks at death, decade after decade, as a powerful, generative spiritual being when all is mind, because you just might create that for yourself. Uh-oh. I think the creeps understand how this part of reality works, and we dummies in the truth community generally don't. It is inherently dangerous, Mr. Ambassador, to have parts of the truth community spending decade after decade focusing on videos about fear, tricks at death, archonic beings, the white light. It's going to spit you back into David Icke's Saturn Moon Matrix. Trapped, tricked. You didn't agree to come here. You were tricked, and now you're trapped. Fear, bad news, bad news. It is inherently dangerous for a generative, creative being to be dwelling on this. Do you understand the words coming out of my mouth? Okay, this is first grade stuff. And it comes back to Rocky. Rocky 3 is all about overcoming fear. That's all it's about. Rocky 3, Mr. T, Clubber Lang. And my favorite scene in yours, he's getting the statue up in the art museum, and Mr. T's in this. He's like, "Hey, woman, hey, woman, since your old man ain't got no heart, why don't I'll show you a real man? Come over, I'll fight." And he gets him all pissed off trying to draw him out. He wasn't really interested in Adrian, Mr. Clubber Lang. He was just trying to piss Rocky off, of course. Adrian wasn't his type. Come on, sir. But he got his ass handed to him. He lost the first fight real bad. Why did Rocky lose the first fight real bad? Okay, first, number one, he was afraid. But where did that fear come from? I'll tell you where. Listen up, and I'll tell you where it came from. First off, he got soft. He's living in that. Remember Rocky 3, the mansion. They got the good life. Paulie's got the damn, a robot that serves him pancakes or whatever, and the kids run around. He's driving the Ferrari and the nice motorcycle. Remember, there's no easy way out. He's driving those. It's all soft. See that? He got soft. So the fear of the fight is because he didn't put the work in. Again, another spiritual metaphor? Matt, that's not what Sylvester Stallone intended. I don't care what he intended. Or what any songwriter intended. Or something stupid like Kenny Loggins, this is it. He really believes, go look it up, it's absurd. He believes he really was writing about his sick father. It's not what it's about. So you taking a message away, some insane asylum patient that Kenny Loggins didn't even intend? Yeah, so what? That's how the embedded spiritual messages work. So he got soft. That's why he got spiritually soft. That's what this life, not milk, it's a not milk life. Matt, now it's breaking down. It is. You do this. And what's this video? An hour and 8 minutes right now? I haven't just been doing this an hour, 8 minutes. You know how many segments? Just totally, I went like, I couldn't even talk. I had to re-record the whole segment. I've been doing this for hours. Yes, I'm completely giddy. So he got soft, which led to fear. He got his ass kicked. Yes, it's a spiritual message. Now, when he went out to California to train with Apollo in that crappy part of Los Angeles, remember they got off the plane? What did Paulie? He says, "Shut up, you scuzzo bums! I'll squash you!" He yells down into the... It wasn't about the training techniques of Apollo. It was about overcoming fear. Adrian made that clear, screaming at him on the beach. He's not doing it for money. He's doing it to overcome fear. Not about the training. That's what gets him through. Dropping the fear. And he got back to his roots. The training was hardcore. Was no more soft and training inside the Four Seasons, Philadelphia, wherever he was training, whatever that hotel was in Philadelphia, where that all the balloons and bubbles. It was just hardcore back. That's what we need to spiritual hardcore training. Doesn't mean walking through North Philadelphia with a sandwich sign, but it does mean just any chance you get to stand up to fear. Relish. I don't like that term. It doesn't just mean something that goes on a hot dog. It means welcome it. Welcome the opportunities when it gets tough. So back to, I remind you of the main question. What's the most important thing for that person in the home with that cat at the end of their bed in doctor's sleep? They're going to die in just a few hours. That cat tells them so. By the way, I want to talk about cats sometimes, guys. My cats, they knew. Bootsy knew when she was going to be put down. I didn't even know. Some people would say, Matt, she sensed you. No, I thought it was something minor. She didn't sense me. I'm going to talk about that sometime as soon as I can. I'll announce in the beginning of the video, say the back 20 minutes is about the cats and cat phenomena. But, what was I saying? The doctor's sleep thing. The most important thing to take into the moment of death then, remember, is confidence. You can't fake it to make it. The confidence stems from doing the work. This is going to be applied in so many different areas. Somebody told me I was, you would think this wasn't the case, but I was terrified to public speak in college. For example, we had to do speech comment, get up in front of this class of 30 or 40 kids or whatever and do 5 presentations over the course of the whole semester. And it was terrifying to most of us, terrifying to me. Because of what I had to do, I had to speak to large groups in the insurance company about their insurance provisions and stuff. I just got used to it, and it helps doing that kind of translated a little bit into me being able to speak now. But I was terrified. And somebody, I forget how they put it, just about the preparation, says you just prepare, read your notes, prepare for the speech. If you think you need to put in an hour, if you're terrified to public speak, put in 2 hours, 3, 4 hours. Prepare so much your nervousness will go away. And this with public speaking or anything, I put so much preparation in. For the first 2 or 3 minutes as you approach the class, of course, as a college kid, you're terrified. But just a minute or two in, I went, I had put so much work and effort in, the nervousness went away. And just in 5 minutes, my ability to speak in front of a group was transformed because of somebody that just stressed to put so much work, never for a second just think you have done enough, because that will override your nervousness to speak in front of groups. And it's true about anything you're a little nervous about. And it's true here. Spiritual work, going into the moment of death, by my heel, I care not if I don't have no little steps or action plan. And oh boy, the light. Don't give a shit. Full confidence, I put in the work. If you think that's delusional, I'm just, that's much more in line with how this entire reality system works and what the creeps are trying to do to block us. They give, even if you don't believe me, their actions give away what I'm saying is correct. Because what are they trying to get up in our business for all day and block us from doing the work for if the work is not important? Okay. As usual, the truth community just gets into the bog, gets into a bunch of nonsense. It's a not milk life for us. Instead of treated, we get tricked. Instead of kisses, we get kicked. Thanks for listening.